This podcast is a proud member of the Unidentified Network.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could texture whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the Track Extra.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra, which is a little show we bring you every Wednesday evening at 6:30 for about a quarter of an hour, sometimes longer, and it's an adjunct to the main show which goes out on Saturday afternoons. It is, as you probably already know, a mixture of hard science, weird shit and surreality. And it covers basically cryptozoology, natural history and all sorts of other stuff. And this week it's an odds and sods episode. Ever since I was a schoolboy I've been fascinated by amphibians, those peculiar little creatures that can live both in water and on land. More properly they're known as lissamphibians, which is the group which includes all three of the currently known subgroups. The three groups of lissamphibians which are known to have survived until the present day are the anurans, or tailless amphibians, the chordata, or tailed amphibians, and the caecilians, who are a very small group of peculiar worm-like creatures, of which I personally am very, very fond. One of the most notable things about the amphibians is that none of them have evolved to live in salt water. Although there are very few species of frog which can live in coastal marshes, and the and the tadpoles of one species of frog actually can live in the sea, there are no proper marine amphibians, which is why something that was sent to me this morning really rings an awful lot of alarm bells. I'm often sent interesting things, and today I was sent this story about a strange creature which had been caught off the coast of Africa. Look at it! It's an amphibian! And if you look closer, I think it is either photoshopped or very cleverly faked by forced perspective to appear that this creature, which is almost certainly an axolotl, or one of its close relatives, has achieved humongous size. This creature was allegedly caught earlier this year off a fishing port in the Cameroon, which is now known as Limby, although when I was a boy and until 1982 it was known as Victoria. I wonder why they changed it. But it was meant to have been caught then and there. But unless everything that we know about the biology of the lissamphibians is wrong, it's a fake. Sorry about that, guys. I've always been interested in the stories about human cetacean interaction, and this one was sent to me recently. Tau was a solitary male bottlenose dolphin who was first sighted in the city of São Sebastião in Brazil in around 1994, and often allowed humans to interact with him, having a particular preference for interacting with human females. The dolphin later killed a swimmer and injured several others, which later earned it the nickname the killer dolphin, and is often the case. Humans are to blame. Dolphin first began receiving public attention in March 1994 when he began visiting ferry docks, often following the boats. The locals named him in reference to the city where he was first spotted. After several months, the animal moved north to a local beach where it often approached beachgoers and interacted with them. Tao quickly became popular, and on some occasions over 30 people were in the water with the dolphin at the same time, sometimes trying to grab his pectoral and dorsal fins to drag them along through the water. Harassment of the dolphin has also begun to take an increasingly serious forms. People tried to hold the dolphin to have their photo taken with it, and also committed acts of cruelty, such as trying to stick an ice cream cone into its blowhole or trying to pour beer into its mouth. Tao initially began to resist the harassment, but by November 1994, 28 people had been taken to hospital. When, in December 1994, two male swimmers, Wilson Ray Pedroso and Paulo Moreira, were harassing and possibly attempting to restrain Tao at a beach in Caracatuba, the dolphin broke Pedroso's ribs and killed Moreira, who was later found drunk. After this incident, the dolphin left briefly, but eventually came back and returned to the beach in January 1995. To prevent retaliation, a public education campaign was organised. Tao remained in the city for a few more months, but eventually left for good during the summer of that year, most likely having rejoined a pod of dolphins, although some still speculate that he may have been killed by persons or person unknown in revenge. Regular viewers will, I'm sure, remember my friend Iantha Hagen, who's also a friend of the show. She and I spend a lot of our time reminiscing about children's books from the classic days of children's literature, and one which comes to mind while we're talking about human-dolphin interaction is a book called Dolphin Summer by Monica Edwards, who I know that I have recommended to people on this show before. It is the story of what happens when a girl and a dolphin make friends. No, it doesn't mean that, so wash your minds out with soap. It's a lovely book and I recommend it to everybody. And here's another strange story for you. During the afternoon of August the 7th, 1999, over 36 reports were received by the Metropolitan Police that witnesses had seen a giant snake in the River Thames. There was no evidence for this, except when a photographer called John Collins examined the pictures he'd been taking from an aircraft flying over London and found this. What do you think it is? Answers in the comments box, please. And finally, I'm sure you'll remember that in two shows recently, Richard Freeman did an experiment to try to reconstitute something from the prehistoric past. Well, the second part of the experiment worked fine, but unfortunately the sound came out all wonky. This is because when I rearranged the sitting room, I say I, and that by which I actually mean Graham and Helen and Anne-Marie, while I just sat here, whilst they rearranged the sitting room, they did something to the settings of the microphone, and quite a lot of stuff that I recorded with Richard over one particular weekend came out with the sound horrible. I fixed it in most cases, but when I put the second part of Richard's experiment onto a show, I think it was on the track number 296, the results were practically inaudible. Much to my great joy, I found a free AI sound cleaning up app and I ran the sound through that, and now you can see the second part of Richard's experiment as he and the good Lord intended. Enjoy.
So, we are at the next stage of our scientific experiment to recreate the extinct cabana bar. If you remember before, we used the base of Bounty bar with a glacé cherry. It wasn't quite right because we missed out an essential component. If you remember in the Jurassic Park books, then there was some genetic material missing from the dinosaur's genome and they had to replace it. Well, we were missing caramel. Cabana had caramel as well as coconut, chocolate and cherry in it. So we've got some caramel sauce and we're going to try again to recreate an approximation of the extinct cabana bar. The caramel sauce goes onto the Bounty, glacé cherry, but it's much nearer, much closer to the cabana bar. The only real difference is the cherry and the caramel were inside the bar rather than separately, but once you masticate it all together, it's a very, very similar taste. I declare this experiment to be a success. Caramel sauce, Bounty, glacé cherries, you've got as near as damn it to the prehistoric cabana bar.
Evolutionary science in action. Well done, Richard. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We're at the end of another show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry it's quite short this week, but we needed to do it in order to start going through my odds and sods folder. I've got a big folder here on my iPad. I'll just show you. I've got a folder here on my iPad which is full of stuff that is in the process of being saved for use in episodes in the future. Just to tell you what we've got, as well as the ones we showed today, we've got new species of cat in South America. We've got little girl rescued by bears. We've got somebody rescuing a cobra very gingerly, and I can't remember what this one is. We have we see what's happened. Oh, I don't know what this is. For some reason there's a load of stories here, baby pictures of lions with no picture to go. But there's also a cat who believes that he's Bob Marley. And so that is the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be back on Saturday. What have we got on Saturday? Well, I believe that we have got the return of the Bigfoot archaeologist. And it's a very exciting and interesting show. What am I doing next Wednesday? I have absolutely no idea, but I'll get there when I can. I can't remember if it was Jesus, Shakespeare or St. Paul who said sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof, but he was perfectly right, whoever it was. So I'll be back then. I hope you're going to watch it, and until then I'll be seeing you.